The reserve race is underway. Chris Bailey's with me. Who are favourites for this, Isis or Goldie, Chris?
This is Goldie's race on the form we've got so far, but they're already in some rough water, and you can see the sort of problems that the boat race crews are going to face right through this race.
You saw winning the toss for Oxford, their president, Donald and our shots will show you that it is pretty rough above Hammersmith Bridge. Now, there's a west-southwest wind. This is where they hit it head-on for the first time. Chris Bailey, this looks rather nasty.
Yes, this is obviously very rough, and we can show that the advantage that Isis have managed taking on the Surrey side. They've held that initial Middlesex bend, and they're fighting Goldie off, and both crews are now moving into heavy water. At the moment, they're clearing it quite well.
Considerable difficulties for these oarsmen on this stretch of the river.
We can see now that Isis are pulled well over under the bank. They're looking for the maximum protection, and they seem to have a lead of some 3/4 of a length from the Goldie crew. And Goldie at this stage have got to stay as close tucked into that shore as they possibly can so that they don't take on board too much water. They too are carrying an electrical pump in the hope that they can clear any water that comes into the boat, but nothing will stop the really big waves if they should actually meet any around this bend.
Well, clearly, we can already see from those shots from Chiswick Reach that conditions are pretty rough, and consequently, the control of this race is going to be absolutely vital. And it's in the hands this year of Colin Moynihan, the former Oxford Cox, now an MP, and after the toss, Des Lynham had a word with him. It is a very close one indeed, and here is the proof. Now then, they're reaching the second half of the race at this point, and there's not a lot between them, Chris.
No, very exciting race, and proving what is often the case, Isis and Goldie races are often more exciting than the main thing. But here we've got Goldie, who've stayed close alongside Isis throughout that long bend, and are now approaching Barnes Railway Bridge. After Barnes, the bend will turn in favour of the Goldie crew. So they've hugged the bend all the way around Surrey, and now they're approaching Barnes, and they will have what is in effect about a half to two-thirds of a length advantage during the last 3 minutes of the race.
Well, if the main race is as exciting as this one is proven to be, then we should all be very happy. But the conditions here at Putney, we're looking at under the span of Barnes Bridge at the moment for this reserve race, but here at Putney conditions are worsening by the moment. There's a squall coming across the tideway here. But what a race these two crews are having. They will shoot the central span of Barnes Bridge, as the main crews will have to. That's one of the rules of the race. And these two crews now very dangerously close together.
In fact, I think there was almost a clash there. To steer these two boats through the central arch of Barnes Bridge alongside one another is very difficult for a Cox. And both crews have gone through here, and I think Goldie have taken a lead now. Looks like about a third of a length. And Goldie will be looking through this last 3 minutes of the race to try and take advantage of the final bend. Pulling out to nearly half a length. Isis stroking slightly higher, trying to hold on to Goldie. It's been a tremendous battle, this, and look at the waves. And by the time the main boat race gets here, we can expect these conditions to be, if anything, a little worse. Goldie are hugging the inside shore again, trying to look for a little smoother water. Oars flying around in the water, the waves make it very difficult to get the blades in and out of the water as accurately as the oarsmen would like.
About half a mile or so to go now. And looks as though Isis may have made a little spurt there. Chris, they look a little closer.
I think so. They're having a lot of trouble controlling their blades. It's not the best water to try and spurt in. The name of the game really is to keep rowing as precisely and evenly as possible and not to hit too many waves. Looks to me now that Goldie are pulling further away. They've probably got nearly a length, taking advantage of that bend, perhaps making less heavy weather of that rough water. One can see that here they come round the final bend. Isis now got to make a final effort if they get back on terms in the last straight. And Goldie seemed to be sitting on approximately 3/4 of a length, maybe a little bit more. You can see here that the Goldie blade work is a little bit cleaner, a little bit more precise. Not then, they hit a huge wave there. There's a lot more water flying up off the Isis boat. It's clearly rougher in the middle there, where Isis are.
Well, if Goldie hold on and win, it'll be revenge for last year. Isis rather unexpectedly beat Goldie last year by only 7 seconds, and they came from behind to do it. And here are Goldie doing something similar.
Absolutely. A lot of stress is being attached to Gavin Stewart, who struck the Isis crew last year and was hopefully going to do the same sort of thing for them this year. Cambridge have obviously got to hold off Gavin Stewart, do better than Goldie managed last year. But this year, Goldie are getting revenge and doing it the hard way, which is to row round the outside of the Surrey Bend and then to win a race round the last Barnes Bridge, Barnes Bend.
So the end of the reserve race now in sight. They'll have rowed 4 miles, 374 yards when they reach the finish.
There's some very erratic steering going on here in the Isis and Goldie race. Isis have actually cut in behind Goldie and changed station. Isis are now hugging the shore underneath the Middlesex bank. Goldie are carrying on. There was almost a bump. If they touched one another, that would have been a foul and an automatic disqualification. But Isis are making a last dash for the finish, trying to come through on the inside. There's nothing in the rules to prevent them doing this, providing they don't interfere with the Goldie boat, who are staying on their station. But it's still Goldie with some clear water. They have about a quarter of a length of daylight between the crews. Goldie looking quite relaxed at this point, and I think Isis have done a last final fling.
Goldie have come across effectively and shut them out, haven't they?
Goldie now have got back inside them. And they're coming now to the last few strokes for a long, hard race. Goldie holding their form as they come into calmer water. There we are. Goldie from Isis by about a length.
So there's the first triumph of the day for Cambridge. The reserve crew, Goldie, have beaten Isis by about 1 length.